This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with my daily wrestling news update for you. It appears like the Thunderdome being recorded at the Amway Center in Orlando is going to continue that way until at least the end of November, possibly longer, possibly the rest of the year. According to reports, the original deal didn't allow fans in the Amway Center for those tapings, but now Florida has actually lifted attendance restrictions on sporting and other entertainment events. So it'll be interesting to see if they start allowing some fans in the building. They did for NXT and they have been for AEW. But of course, as I've reported, they have been having issues getting fans to actually go to the AEW events. Steve Austin is coming out with a new book next year called Austin 316 Facts and Stories about Stone Cold Steve Austin, who I would like to interview one day. I don't know if it'll ever happen. I have interviewed one of his exes, Jeannie Clark, who was also known as Lady Blossom, 2 or 3 times now. I'm supposed to interview her again this month because she actually has some stories to tell me about a haunted house that she and Austin and their daughters used to live in. Now, Sami Zayn did an interview with the Metro in the UK. And this is just ridiculous now. He basically said that Jamie Noble, who was the agent for his recent pay-per-view match, that was a ladder match involving AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy, the agent deserves the credit for the match. He came up with a lot of the ideas. Could you imagine like Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant after their WrestleMania 3 match saying to a newspaper, well, really Pat Patterson deserves the credit for this match. He came up with how we put this match together. No, Hogan to this day will still kayfabe you and say he didn't know if Andre was even going to agree to lose until it happened. Even though he had to, he had worked with Andre forever, and we all know Andre was going to go along with it. But the old guys, the guys that really drew money, like the Hulk Hogans, know how to work. You don't see Hulk Hogan ever saying that, oh, Pat Patterson put together my match against Savage or my match against the Warrior. He deserves the real credit. Especially when an angle is still going on. This is why the grave is just getting deeper every day for professional wrestling. Eva Marie, I didn't even realize she was gone because I haven't watched wrestling that closely for a long time, but apparently she's coming back to the WWE. Elias, who somehow people think looks like me, even though I'm bigger than him. As Oz Walter says, good morning. Good morning to you. Elias is back. He returned on Raw. I won't get into the draft because they never follow the draft. It's just a ratings grab. I mean, they already had, I believe, a co-branded Battle Royal right on Raw tonight, from what I understand. So if they're not even done the draft and they're already mixing, which they always mix. They've never not mixed. And now with no house shows, there's no even point of the draft other than a ratings grab. The homophobic, racist, gay porn star Lars Sullivan is going to be wrestling Jeff Hardy on Smackdown. And some people said, why did I report on Lars Sullivan this weekend? Well, a lot of people clicked on those reports. And I am a reporter. Ever since the lockdown started, I mean, I'm happy. The Hannibal TV is constantly growing. Both last week and the week before, we gained over 3,000 subscribers in a week. And I have well over 130 million views on this channel now. But like, I haven't worked my regular job since the original lockdown started. We've been back on lockdown here in Canada starting this weekend. So yes, if there's news, I am going to report it. And people are interested in him because a gay porn star being homophobic is like a black Klansman. It's hilarious. Rip Rogers is going to be doing an interview with me live on this channel Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So I highly suggest you tune in for that. Click subscribe if you're not subscribed so you get notifications on my live interviews. And Rob Van Dam, I don't have the time yet, but sometime on Thursday, late afternoon or early evening, I will be doing a live interview with Rob Van Dam. Underdog says he doesn't know how Lars keeps getting all these chances. I don't know why some people get 0 chances, some people get 1 chance and never get another chance, and others get tons of chances. One good thing why they're probably bringing him back now is they only use fake crowd noise, and they have the Thunderdome, so they don't have to worry about trying to drown out negative crowd chants about Lars Sullivan. They have full control over the crowd sounds and what pops up on the screens. The Oz Walter says, LOL, Dave Chappelle. I don't quite get that. Chris asked if I've had any chance to interview Dan Severn. I think there's 4 or 5 interviews with Dan Severn on here, who I am close friends with, by the way. And I actually just spoke with him yesterday. He's one guy that I'm always going to do update interviews with because we get along well. And he was one of my favorite UFC originals. So search up Dan Severn, the Hannibal TV. I did one in 2020 with him. Ares says Lars looks something out of American Horror Story. Maybe that's the appeal backstage to him. I don't know. I don't care. Ryan Bowman says the Rip Rogers interview should be great. He's not only smart about the business, he's also hilarious. Well, it's going to be my first live fan interaction interview with him, but I have done another interview with him that was a career shoot interview last year. You guys can look that up, as Steve says he loves The Hustler. Underdog is explaining to me, oh, Dave Chappelle did a comedy sketch about him being a Black Klans person. Okay, maybe I'll have to look that up. Steve says Pat Patterson, that's how, regarding Sullivan. Who knows? But as I said, it's not just that. If you look at the screenshot of this video, they give out world titles now to WNBA teams, NHL teams, NBA teams. Everyone has a world title, WWF title now, and they wonder why the titles mean absolutely nothing. 0. I mean, it makes no sense to just give everyone titles so everyone can walk around with WWE titles year after year after year. It totally devalues them. Jefferson E. White says WNBA teams. Yes, that includes WNBA teams. So I don't know. They can do what they want. They're their own company. It just sucks as an independent wrestling promoter for Great North Wrestling, because when wrestling is popular on TV, it trickles all the way down to the independents. You have more people going to independent shows. But when wrestling is the shits on TV and you have people like Sami Zayn giving credit for a pay-per-view match to a fucking producer and not even like trying to keep an active storyline going, it just kills it. Kills the quote-unquote magic that these WWE storytelling entertainers like to talk about. Tony Martin says, what does them giving titles away to everyone have to do with anything? It cheapens the title. It cheapens the title. When everyone has the title, yes, I know you can buy them. It's one thing when you can buy them, but when you're giving WWE world titles away as an award to entire teams, you don't see UFC doing that with their world titles, do you? They actually care about the prestige of the title, and that's how I feel about it. There is no real, probably the most meaningful title, even though they haven't had that many great champions in recent years, is the New Japan IWGP Championship, which, by the way, I did pin AJ Styles not once, but 2 times in one night back in 2014 when he was still New Japan IWGP champion. But they would never give me a title shot because they know, just like Cody Rhodes knows, just like Nick Aldis knows, that I would win, and people want to hold me down because they know I'm better than them. So no one will ever give me a legitimate world title shot. That's why I'm a reporter. I'm no longer a wrestler. I leave the wrestling to the Great North wrestling athletes, such as the Blood Hunter, who will be wrestling in the Forest of Fear match series that's going to start airing on the Hannibal TV next week. As Gordo Scarface brings up, Sami Zayn weighs 120 pounds. Well, a lot of wrestlers don't look tough, so that's not out of the ordinary. Wrestling has just become, there are some tough wrestlers, but there's a lot of little gymnast-looking guys that do nothing but perform fake-looking, choreographed stunts, which is why I prefer to watch MMA, which is, I'm sure a lot of you know, there was some great matches over the weekend in multiple companies and some pretty impressive knockouts. And speaking of MMA, I did interview Lethwei champion Dave LeDuc yesterday, who is fighting November 7th. His sport, Lethwei, is more violent than MMA. It allows headbutts. It's no gloves, elbows, knees. It's pretty brutal. So if you don't know who Dave LeDuc is, watch that interview and search up his fights. You'll find that they're a lot more entertaining than wrestling. Fart Doctor, if they gave Lars a second chance, why won't they give you one? Actually, they gave Lars more than a second chance. He did no-show those shows for the mental health breakdown. He got a second chance after that. So this is the third chance now after the porn came out about him. It's no longer a second chance. I don't know, but I actually would not be happy in WWE. They're too controlling. I would not get along with the dressing room. Tony says Nick Aldis was on the Conan and Disco podcast, Breaking Kayfabe. You would beat the crap out of him. Yes, I would. He's a former bodybuilder and swimmer. I was a wrestler before I was a pro wrestler, and I'm a grappler. I might not be the greatest kickboxer of all time, but I'm always improving. And yes, I could beat Nick Aldis. Yes, there actually is some interest in that match by some people within the United Wrestling Network. However, the money doesn't look like it's going to be there for me. And Mird says, yes, wrestlers are not tough looking. Most of them play it safe. The Oz Walter, who do I like, Tyson versus Jones? I have to pick Tyson because I almost fought Roy Jones Jr. for UR fight many years ago. He was going to fight a fan, and he did end up fighting a fan. But I had by far the most views, and the promoters actually wanted me to fight him, but it didn't work out. So Mike Tyson all the way. Would I ever consider fighting Lethwei? I'm 37 years old now. I'm doing great at interviewing people. I've actually, believe it or not, for everyone that likes to call me handicapped, I've made way more money with my brain than I ever have my fists. Seriously. Or my wrestling skills. So I'll stick with what I'm making money with. Would I ever train with Dave LeDuc? We already talked about it. Yes. But at 37 years old, maybe if I was still 27 or early 20s, but not at 37. Nick King says neckbeards ruin wrestling. Not really even sure what that means. But I wish everybody a good night. I have to do some serious training tomorrow, so I'm going to be going to bed earlier than normal tonight. Thanks for all your questions and comments.